Everybody, welcome to the Boardman Gets Paid podcast. Today is a special podcast. We have with us Hopeful from Twitter and the Basketball Rewind. Um, we are going to talk some trades. I know it's early. It's what 15 games into the season. Raptors are 3-12, and all of the Raptor fans are in a tizzy right now. Like, oh man, we can go on a 6-game win streak. We'll be in the playoffs. I don't know. I know the East is bad, but yeah, let's just talk about it. So first of all, Hopeful, please introduce yourself because it's the first time you're actually on the pod as a guest. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think you did a good job. Um, Run Basketball Rewind. So if you're interested in, I'd say the best thing to kind of be aware of our podcast is we cover the Raptors, we cover the NBA, but we also really love covering the draft every year. That's kind of how we kind of built our following. So yeah, that's what I would say. And
Also,
yeah.
people know that it's a unique podcast because you're getting perspective from an older generation. We have a coach, and we have you know
You don't need to date me now.
no, it's just
I'm not like
more.
it's not that old.
It's a really good mix of a few different generations and the way that you guys think and talk. You guys don't always agree, and it's good to have that type of fan base within a podcast. Myself and Sheldon, we're more of just. I think we're more fan of the fan kind of thing, and want to just talk basketball. But you guys go a little bit deeper, which is why I love your show so much, right? Okay, so we're gonna talk trades, and I'm gonna come into a perspective of a Twitter fan, loves the Raptors, and really wants them to improve. I'm also have a bias that I feel the Raptors should be losing right now because of the talent pool that we do have, and it needs to improve. And the only way to improve it and not become the Chicago Bulls is to lose right now. We have a great opportunity. So I have some trade proposals, but as we've been talking about, and people have been talking about, that there's this thing called the second apron. So I'm gonna quickly go through it with everyone, so you can take a minute to kind of break here, and I'm gonna go through what it is. What is the second apron? Okay, cool. So I'm doing this little presentation so everyone can understand. So first off, Second Apron is part of the NBA collective agreement, bargaining agreement, CBA, and it refers to a high-level luxury tax threshold. So this wasn't here before. I'm not sure when this was implemented, but it may have been implemented either this year or last year. And it helps. Basically, it helps try to penalize those teams that have tons of money and going past the luxury tax. By trying to make it fair for other teams. So the luxury tax threshold, the NBA has a luxury tax system where the teams that exceed a certain payroll threshold must pay additional taxes on the amount they are over. And that's the first apron. Sorry, the first apron is the first level of tax. So I believe it's 1-to-1 ratio. And then the second apron is a higher payroll threshold beyond the first, but exceeding its means for the teams to face stricter restrictions. So stricter restrictions, I think we'll go into it. So key penalties would be a hard cap. So teams can no longer exceed the cap if they're in the second apron. Limited flexibility with roster building. They may face limitations on acquiring players via sign and trade. Exceptions and middle of exceptions kind of go away as well. And then restricted ability to trade. And this is the key point. Teams over the second apron cannot send out more salary than they receive. This limits their ability to make trade moves that could improve their roster. So we have to understand that. The Raptors right now are at their trade cap, their salary cap is at 164 million, and the cap is 140. Okay, purpose. The second apron is intended to limit the power of teams that can afford to spend wildly and create an imbalance between teams with big market resources and small market teams. It seeks to prevent the richest teams from creating super teams by accumulating all the best talent simply through financial power. So just think of Golden State Warriors getting KD out of a kind of a trade, um, or the Heatles back in the day. Threshold of and calculations: the first apron is typically set around the salary cap with a set percentage above the cap. The second apron is an additional level, generally set several $1 million higher than the first apron. And then the exact numbers can vary year to year. So right now, I don't know have the exact numbers for this year, but I know the salary cap is 140 million. So yeah,
I mean
so
that you don't even have to worry about the exact numbers because it changes.
yeah,
I
well,
think the easiest thing to
yeah,
kind
go ahead.
of explain to people is just like there, as you said, there are restrictions. It is punitive, and what they're basically trying to do is the new CBA makes it so that they're trying to encourage teams to maintain their own teams. So if you are with a player, they're trying. If you're with a team as a player, they're trying to make sure that you stay with that team as long as possible, and ideally, moving beyond that, they're trying to also make it so that it's more difficult to do trades. The biggest thing to simplify it for people is when you're in the second apron, you cannot combine multiple salaries to make up to a salary. So we'll use Bruce Brown as an example. If you want a Bruce Brown and you don't have a salary that's around, what is it, within 120% of whatever, say if you don't have $19 million as a salaried player, you can't say I'll take a $14 million player and add a Jaden McDaniels or Jalen McDaniels. Sorry, I keep mixing up the brothers' names and combine them together and get that
Yeah.
Bruce Brown. You cannot do that. So yeah, that's
And,
basically it.
and it's good. I hope that it is a little bit clearer for people to understand. Hence why I was very upset that we kept Bruce Brown in the first place, because now we're actually over the salary cap. So the salary cap is 140 million, and we are actually 24 million over it, which hampers our flexibility in a sense about trading players like that. So another way is if a team isn't in the second apron or it's just in the first apron, they basically we could take back salary if we had that. So that's one of the things. So let's get into a few trade ideas. So Jakob Peoltl has been playing out of his mind, supposedly. I'm not. I'm not in agreement with that, but
He's been playing well. We'll call a
well,
spade a
yeah,
spade. That's fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
and stock has been rising to the point where teams outside of the Raptors are starting to take a look and take interest. One of those teams is the Los Angeles Lakers. So the first trade that I have here, let's see. Wait, okay. The first trade, let me share my screen. Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, first trade here. So the Lakers acquire Jakob Poeltl, and they get back Rui Hachimura, a 6'8" power forward, or I think is more of a wing right now. That's how he plays with the Lakers. And then Jalen Hood Shafino, point guard, 6'6" point guard, or most likely shooting guard. And this actually matches almost perfectly the salary, although even though the the Lakers are actually in the first apron in this. So let's kind of take a look at this trade and what are your thoughts? First of all, just numbers wise, and then we'll go into even fit and why either it works or why it doesn't work for the Raptors.
Well, I mean, just from a numbers wise perspective, it works. But the challenge that you have is, I mean, I've never been a big fan of Jalen Hood Schifino. He was one of the people where, depending on how we ended up in that Grady draft, he was talked about as a potential uh, person going to be drafted by us. And Grady was our pick. So, if I'm not mistaken, I might be. Yes, it was the 2003.
Same draft as
The
well.
2023-2024 season was his first year, so this is his second year. Um, he is a point guard. I think his benefit is this: he's a very tall. He's not a small point guard. So you compare him to like Malachi Flynn, Fred VanVleet, and TJ Ford, and all of the other Raptors point guards of the past. He would be instantly one of the taller point guards that we've ever had.
Mhm.
Um, Here, the challenge is that he did not get his option picked up.
Yeah.
And if you're a second year player and you're not getting your option picked up, usually not a good thing.
Okay.
And especially if it happens super early. He is young, he can maybe put it together, but I don't know, like without that option, you don't even have, like, you can't trade for him and now exercise the option.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
so you
And
have
you
to
thought
make a
about that
decision
one.
on him.
Okay. You have to make a
Yeah.
decision on him right away. The
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I selected him over other than numbers over Jackson Hayes, which is
Mm,
someone I would rather have had just because his I like the way he plays to a point. He's still kind of Bruno-esque. Is that he is a big point guard, and he was one of the ones that I was actually interested in.
mm.
We didn't get Grady, or I think the other player I was really interested in that draft was Anthony Black. 6'6" point guard is something I like. Big point guards, so that's something I like. And I kind of feel like the Lakers are not very good at developing young players. So I'm wondering how he would fare with a
I,
development
I
focused.
mean, Austin Reeves says otherwise, but okay.
I think those are like little gem. Yeah, that's true. But I think those are little gems that happen. But that's absolutely fine. But I kind of feel like, hey, if we,
Mm,
I think if because we're on a development route versus like win now with the Lakers, maybe especially like a point guard, having a little bit more flexibility would be good. But then you pointed out they didn't pick up the option. And
yeah, in fact, they declined the option.
exactly.
So
So there's the
you
issue.
have basically until the end of the season to make a decision on him, and like I don't know if that's enough time to make a decision on such a guy
Mhm.
where there's a lot of deficiencies. He's a big guard. I don't know how his defense has been really because I haven't
Yeah, we
been
haven't
like
really.
super tracking him,
Yeah.
but I know that his shot has always been a problem even in college.
Mhm.
And just a quick look at the numbers, I'm not going to say because I don't want to sound like I'm just dunking on the young man, but it has not been pretty.
Mhm.
And then in terms of the Jackson Hayes version of the deal, I'll just say culturally, the Raptors have tested the waters on certain guys coming in as Raptors, but there are still some cultural pushbacks towards certain players with certain histories, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
He has off-court issues.
Okay. All right. That's okay. Then what about the Rui
Could
Hachimura?
have been an NFL player. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
eyes just popped. Okay. What about Hachimura? Um, I like Hachimura. I think he's a good player. I don't like the way they play him on the wing, although he's been striving on the wing. I
Yeah.
would like to play him at four, and it would be really interesting playing him. But then again, we don't have a center now because Peoltl is gone. But what would you think about, does that help us at least with some size with Hachimura, or do you feel it's still not adequate? Because we do want the 7 footers, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, like if you were having like Rui and someone else for other deals, I'd say, oh, okay. For this, because of where it leaves you, which is without a center, the
Mhm.
question then becomes who plays center?
Mhm.
And it's probably not going to be a certain someone with a bad back who's on the, you know what I mean? So
We don't know
it's,
what's going on with him. No, no updates.
they said lumbar, which is not usually a good sign, but he has been practicing. So it's probably going to have to be Scotty. And I don't know if, as much as I want Scotty more in the post, having him go up against, you know, Jokic and Embiid and et cetera, all game long, every single day, all the time. That is a lot to ask from him. Um, so that's why I feel like from a Raptor standpoint, I don't think it really helps us.
Yeah. I agree with that. I also think not getting another big back really
Yep.
hurts, and then got not getting a draft pick. So I didn't add draft picks because that could be like this is just more of the base of
Yeah.
trade
And
kind of thing.
also, to be fair, the Lakers don't have a lot of draft picks to give, and if they go over that second apron, they are then locked out of those draft picks. So, but we don't have to go down that road. Can I make one other thing?
You want to adjust the price?
Just in terms of Rui, they're saving. If they're going to trade Rui, they probably want someone who's going to be better than a fifth option in that unit. Because I'll pose the question back to you: if you're the Lakers, why not just trade for JV?
Well, we don't care about what the Raptors think, but I'm sorry about the Lakers think, right? But
Fair enough.
I do agree with that though. Like, why not trade for him? But I think I didn't want to go to that nuance because this was actually really hard
Hmm,
to figure out. But when
gotcha.
you think about it on why not get a JV, I actually think it's more because of the strike when the
Please
iron's
don't say
hot.
defense.
Well, strike when well that's one, but you strike when the iron's hot. If this guy is making a certain amount of buzz, like when I see Laker fans and Phoenix fans saying, "Yo, give us Pirtle," that's to me, that's like it's not like this is a perfect time to swindle someone. That's how I see it. But
Unfortunately, the
I know.
bad GMs are now not as plentiful as they used to be.
Well, this second apron doesn't help, right? So
That also doesn't help. But yeah, I mean, like I just look at like JV as an example, and it's like, okay, first of all, you get Pirtle in that lineup, and things get a lot more cramped spacing wise, right? Um, I
yeah,
don't see the like JV can knock down free throws for sure. He can knock down a three, you know, for sure.
he grabbed 20 rebounds and 35 points.
He's
Yeah,
a great rebounder.
that's a,
It's just like offensively, like defensively, the Lakers don't have a problem right now, right? They have Anthony Davis. LeBron is still like able to turn it up when needed.
but
Paces
they're
himself, but yeah,
rebounding. I think they're the bottom of the league in rebounding.
rebounding. But JV's a good rebounder, right? JV shoots the three at 40%. JV shoots free throws at 94% versus what 64 for Pirtle.
61.
So so what happens? Oh, so 61. So you've been really tracking this. So what happens in the fourth quarter? You're gonna be paying a guy $20 million a year that you can't play in the fourth quarters at the end of a playoff game because he's gonna be put in hacky yak
So why can't we
situations.
use that same talk about for us? I kind of feel it's the
Why
same.
can't we? Why can't we? You mean why can't we get JV?
Well, I don't know about getting JV back, although people would love that, but actually I wouldn't mind because it's I don't know. Let's go to the next trade, unless you try to adjust it. Because
Fair enough.
do you want to adjust this at all? Or you want to go to the next trade?
No, no,
Okay. Okay.
I think
So
the only other deal is for D'Angelo Russell, really. And I don't sense that you're very interested in the man who
nope,
spends his summers
no.
in Toronto.
Okay. Let's walk with me here. All right. So the Hornets right now. This is Hornets. Jakob Peoltl for Josh Green and Nick Richards. So why I brought this one up is that Jakob Peoltl. Sorry. The Hornets. They're trying to win. I don't think they're trying to lose. I think they're trying to go for it. But one of the issues, one of the things I see, especially with their offense, is they don't have a reliable big. Nick Richards is okay.
Hmm.
But I think having a veteran big on their team, like a Yakapurtle, that can set really good screens for Trey Man and for Lamelo Ball.
Is there another center that you might be forgetting who usually plays?
Ooh, who are you talking about?
Mark Davis.
I don't know who that is. Okay.
Mark Davis, who basically like killed us last year, who's
I
just
thought that
injured
was
right now.
Nick Richards was the
Or
one.
sorry, Mark Williams.
Oh, Mark Williams. Okay, yeah, that was one of the guys I was thinking. But I kind of think Jakob Peoltl would be really good for the type of player that LaMelo Ball and Trey Man is when it comes to setting the picks, like strong pick and roll, not pick and roll, sorry, strong picks and rebounding. So I say we offload this and get a Nick Richards and a Josh Green. At least Nick Richards can play center. And he's a longer player. He kills Jakob every single time we play. But I don't know what else happens with him. I don't know if I'm not sure about his shooting. But then I think this is where we'd have to get some picks involved because Hornets would be wanting to win and they would probably be making playoffs. So I'm wondering if this would be a good position. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think that they already have two centers.
Mhm.
They just gave up Plumlee, I think, one of the Plumlee brothers. I can't remember if it's Mason or Miles or whichever one else. Last year, the second last time Mark Williams played against us, he had 15 points and 12 boards. I think that they're fine. The problem is that yes, Jakob Pertl can pass, but is Jakob Pertl's passing worth taking the ball out of Brandon Miller's hands or LaMelo's hands?
And
Probably not.
I'm wondering if a coach like Charles Lee could use him in a specific way. It's because if you think about, I know what we know his shortcomings, we know
Mm.
Jakob's shortcomings, but playing him with like a vet like Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball, Grant Williams, I think it actually might turn the tide for them, especially if you're seeing how um, uh, RJ Barrett has been using Jakob as that man to kind of dump balls off. I actually asked someone about how many points have like how many shots has sorry, not JV, Pirtle scored off of
Hmm.
just passes from RJ in the middle. And if you replace RJ with LaMelo Ball, I think that's actually a way better player. I think Jakob Pirtle will actually strive a little bit better in that type of system. Also,
Yeah.
Charles Lee is a very good coach. I kind of feel like this could move the needle for them to put them actually in a playoff position.
But
Uh,
why are you overburdening a coach that you just hired?
oh, he already you heard the rumor. He had
Like
LaMelo Ball
he's
and
he's
everyone.
trying to get like LaMelo Ball to like play defense, and he's doing a good job and all that. But like I'm just right now, I think that I I guess my thing is I don't see this trade. It's not the worst trade idea. It's just I don't see the trade. And then from a Josh Green standpoint,
Yeah,
it's like you get real small real fast. Already we're small, and it's like we basically have a Josh Green type already. Unless I mean he does have a little bit more offensive upside, but like just size wise, he's similar to like what you're hoping to get out of like Ochai, but he's
okay.
probably better than Ochai to be honest. But at the
There's
same
no
time, it's like he's making his money already.
Yeah, no one
So
issues the
yeah,
3 years for Josh Green. I find that a little bit hard to kind of swallow as well.
that
Um,
too.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so we got the Hornets one out of the way. That's great. Here
Mhm.
comes the next one. Let's be a little bit crazier. This is not from me. This is from online. People have been saying
I'm not judging. I
it.
can't speak for your audience,
It
but I'm
doesn't
not
actually
judging.
doesn't even work. It literally doesn't work. Right?
Okay, well, yeah. So again, they're a
Let's
second apron
talk
team.
about this. Why it doesn't work? Because I
So
want you to explain this to people.
yeah, it's just simple. They're a second apron team. They can't put two salaries together. It could work if you technically took Nurkic for Pirtle, but
It doesn't work because
it
it has to match.
but like I think Nurkic for Pirtle actually works straight up, but um I just don't understand why we would do Nurkic for Pirtle. The defense would get worse. Nurkic is a good rebounder, but he's always been quite
Can't.
shall I say injury prone. He's had a lot of foot problems. Oh, it still doesn't work. See,
Oh,
so yeah.
because it's not matching. So this is where we're trying to explain to people because the salaries don't exactly match, you cannot trade. That's because they're in the second apron.
Oh, now yeah. Sorry. Now I see. So it's not because it's not matching. Sorry, I'm looking at it the other way. I'm I minimized my screen and I saw 19. I flipped it.
No
They
problem.
can't go up in salary. They can accept anything less.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So hypothetically, if it was if Nurkic made $20 million, you could that deal could go down.
Correct. Correct. And then you can't. I don't think you can add done
No,
to.
you can't aggregate salaries. So yeah. So
That's
I
just
I, I
then and actually when you look at their roster, there is actually no one on the roster
correct.
that can be traded to us.
Correct.
Cannot do that, guys. Please, we cannot do that. Maybe if we went with Bruce Brown, but when you look at their roster, Bruce Brown is
But again, you're running into the same problem. How do you get up to Bruce Brown's salary? They can't accept more. They'd have to accept less. So you're in the same situation unless you're trading Bruce Brown and like Chris Boucher and even that. I was trying. If you try to get up to like Bradley Beal's salary and take that off of them or something like that, fine. But I just don't know why they would do that. So yeah.
let
Next.
everyone know where there's no point of even trading for Nurkic. Like,
Yeah.
okay, next one. This is one that I was thinking about. It doesn't work right now. Um,
Okay. So next.
because there's no one in there. So one of the reasons why I was thinking that the Bucks would be actually a good trading concept is because their rebound sucks. I was very intrigued about this, and I'm wondering if we could move Jakob Peoltl for one of their players. The only player that I can see right now is
No,
basically Brook Lopez, but there's no.
which is a no.
Well, it's 1 year contract. So, but
I'm
this
saying, why would they trade Brook Lopez for Jakob Peoltl when they have Giannis and Giannis needs spacing? In some ways, Giannis is a much better. Obviously, this is not an insult, but he's a much better version of what like you hope that Scotty Barnes could be at his peak, where he's just like beasting through guys.
yeah,
And the problem is to make it work, you need a very particular team. You need a center that can space the floor. Brook Lopez spaces the floor. Brook Lopez was like,
which is
was he not
interesting.
like defensive player of the year recently too?
Almost, yeah.
Okay, so I rest my case right there.
I
And also, it's just not something that can work. So
I find
they
interesting.
need perimeter help. That's what they need.
Yeah. So that's where I was thinking actually Chris Boucher going to the team, but it still doesn't work because there's no
Yes, there's
clear.
only one thing that works for that, and that's Bobby Portis. And I would rather have Bobby Portis than Chris Boucher.
So if he did a Bobby Portis, just do it because that's the one player I've been looking at. Where is he?
Yeah, he's at the very bottom.
I
But
was
yeah,
thinking,
it's just they're not going to do that. So next deal.
let's make sure that that doesn't even work. Oh, it does.
It does work. Yeah,
Oh man, this I don't know if that would. I would actually. I would like.
they would not do that. So yeah,
Who wouldn't do it? Which
the
team?
Bucks would not do that.
Okay.
You are getting worse to get off money, and if they're making that type of move, it means that Giannis is asking out. So they're gonna, you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna take a worse player. All respect to Chris Boucher, but yeah, for less money to basically dump salary, unless and then from a Raptors standpoint, I don't want to get better this year. So like
Okay.
all of your moves so far is to get worse.
What about in just hear me out on this? What about if it's like they're trying to kind of shake up the roster and the lineup to try to get someone in there with more energy, like Chris Boucher, energy kind of type of player, just to
Have you seen Bobby Portis' eyes? He has plenty of energy. I'll leave it at that.
bro. I just thought of this. I'm not gonna say this thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably for the best. What's the
It
next
just
trade?
popped in my head, like, oh my god. I was like, all right, last trade. Okay.
Okay,
Trade. Now,
that's not happening.
here, listen to my listen
That's
to my
that's
journey.
my raw reaction. Not
Listen to
gonna
my
be able to
journey.
do that.
I watched the OKC game last night, and
Mm,
they were they need help down low. Like they just do. So
mm-hmm.
reason why I've always been trying to push Pirtle to them anyways. And then when they got Hardenstein, I felt like my that whole thing got just ruined. But now that Hardenstein is out, now Chet is out. They are struggling down low. Like that is one of the things. And then so just the same thought process of the LaMelo ball using Jakob Pearl as a center there, and then adding Chris Boucher as well. Now it works when it comes to salary, but here's one of the reasons why I think they would be okay with letting go of Topic is because they have four first round draft picks in next year's draft. Okay. They have four.
Hmm.
And they have a really nice one in the Philadelphia 76ers. I think it's top 14 protected. Now, where are they going to put these players that they have in the first round? So let me just let me throw this out there and show you. Like they
Uh,
have so many
they have a lot of picks. Yes, they have 33 picks so between now and 2031, I believe.
picks here. Look
Um,
at this. This is
but
all 2025. You have to kind of strike now, right? Like if you're gonna be
yeah,
who are you who is OKC going to move to get that? Like what if it's like they
mhm.
use this to get JV to move him to another player to get a bigger player?
Then why not just get the bigger player?
Because the
Why
salary
take steps to why am I,
because of the salaries they have.
taking a stop if I don't have to, right? Like, do I have an electric car and I have to go stop at the charger to go,
Yeah, but
like
we're looking at the
like
salary, right? Here was the issue because it was very difficult to kind of they don't have a lot of players making like 20, 15 million kind of thing. Um,
you're explaining the exact reason why Jakob Peoltl is probably going to be on the team at the end of the year.
so
This is why. And by the way, Isaiah Hartenstein is he's going to be back soon.
yeah,
By January, I believe, at the latest. So they're like
that's
they have the I mean a month just went by fast, right? So they have the talent to kind of make it work.
Mhm.
Um, until then and kind of they're more than treading water with Shea and all that, but like to basically tread water until that, and just hope for the best. Pirtle, from like a fit standpoint, I do agree he would probably work here,
Mm.
but from their standpoint, they're giving up way too much when there's probably better options on the market or who might come on the market. So for example,
Even with
if
superstar
Milwaukee,
Jakob Pearl.
yeah, well, yeah, because like if Milwaukee comes available, right?
Wait,
You
hold on.
know, as
How did you find out about my secret trade idea? Because I was telling my boy,
mm,
friend, and I said, "Yo, if Giannis comes available, OKC is the perfect place for him. They can give 5 draft picks in this year's draft, and they
Well,
won't."
this is the thing that we've been talking about for a while is that it's OKC, Houston. There's certain teams that have a whole bunch of assets that are draft assets, and they're just waiting for the right move. Even potentially San Antonio,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we'll see, but like, yeah. So if you're to just to wrap up this
yeah,
specific trade imagination, not only do I think that they're giving up way too much, but also it's like you see the frustration that's going on in Philadelphia. The city of brotherly love is not feeling so brotherly right now. And you're looking at Embiid basically say that he doesn't like how Nick Nurse is using him, although he hasn't really played many games, but sure, right? You're seeing Maxey call him out. If I am them, I would say maybe it's worth holding off on a Jakob Pertl to get Embiid, or
that's
to potentially go for someone else. That is,
uh,
all respect to Jakob Pertl, he's
uh,
not Embiid. Embiid, even though he has his issues, was recently an MVP.
hmm.
There
That's
are levels to this.
and that's why I feel like teams are just still like they're in that wait and see to see how things kind of go. But it's like we need to. I think it's striking when the iron's hot with Jakob. Like, is there someone that will bite? Like, so we've seen a few of my trades. They're not as crazy as people have been saying. This is my favorite one because I really would love to have Topic. Luez Dort, I don't really want because
I
that
would love Lou Dort on this team, but we're not getting Lou Dort.
what how would that work with another small wing defender that can
Well, he would take over your Bruce Brown, and he would take over your. your Ochai. Like,
Mm.
but yeah,
And I
but I
like,
mean, we see what he does in the Olympics. So,
yeah, true.
but again, I don't see number one. That's their star players. That's his boy,
True.
right? Number one, first and
That's the
foremost.
only player that can be like number wise can be moved.
Right. Number
Not moved.
two. Well, this is why like I said, it at the beginning of this trade, I said it ain't gonna
Gonna
happen. Not gonna be able to do it. Keep it moving because that's to put it in perspective. I would not expect major moves to go through in the NBA this year. I don't know who's trading for Brandon Ingram, for example. I don't.
you know,
Right.
injured too.
Um,
So
I don't know. There are some spots for him, but it's tough. Jimmy Butler, it sounds like that's more of an off-season move, right? You're going to see more sign and trades moving forward. I said it from a couple years ago, and I'm saying it now. Um, I don't know why they would give up on Topic right now when he's a bigger guard, he's in their system, and like he's under contract control. They're wanting to stay cheap for as long as possible and have as many cracks at it as possible as they turn over assets and hunt for that third final piece of a championship team.
yeah,
Pirtle is not putting them over the top. They
yeah.
they were literally just in the conference finals.
The reason why I was saying Topic is because he hasn't been. He's injured. He's not part of the system, and they got 5 first-round draft picks and second-round draft picks coming in next year.
Mm-hmm.
They can always like he's expendable to them, and that's how I
He,
see.
he is, but again, as I said, I laid it out right. Like I like the enthusiasm for these deals, but I don't know if they're ready to give up Topic. It's possible, but yeah. And then like from a Raptor standpoint, like this is like you know if Masai pulls this off, I'm either wondering if he had photos of someone at a certain someone's party recently,
Hey,
right? Like you know what I mean,
stranger things have
or something.
happened. But
Stranger things have not happened.
what?
So no. So I will say these are not like Jakob Peoltl is probably not going to be traded this off season or sorry during this season, and especially if you can't address the center perspective with someone who does not have a past that is kind of shady. That includes Christian Wood, by the way, who also has some challenges.
I didn't even put him in. No,
I mean, I've heard people say I want Christian Wood, and it's like,
for what purpose?
just simply put, when a guy's been on about 6 or 7 teams in 6 or 7 years, there's usually a problem.
Yeah, especially
And
the output that he's been putting. He puts out for those teams, right? Like he almost was
and well,
startable.
and especially if you're talking about you want it's a rebuilding team, yes, but you want some accountability at some level here and people who are taking it seriously. Maybe having someone who has had challenges sticking with whatever is probably not the best idea to bring into a complex situation. The Rui idea is a neat idea, but probably they're saving that for something better. And
Yeah.
there's cheaper options. Like the real challenge is, and Michael Grange actually has a story
Mhm.
on this, I think today even, and then like Doug Smith talked about this before as well, as like the Raptors are probably not going to make a major move. As much as people are really like, oh my gosh, like Jakob Pertl's worth like 2 picks, like he might be worth a pick right now.
I don't think he's
Um,
the pick though. And like, anyways, this is just me.
you don't think he's worth a pick?
No, no,
Okay, so okay, so why are you trading Jakob Pertl if he's not even worth a pick?
bro. I told you this is from Fad that thinks he's worth a lot. Uh,
Okay,
it's
fair
trying to
enough.
wear the Iders hot. Me, nah,
Like,
he's like second, maybe a second. You
hmm.
know, early second. I don't know. It's
I think he's worth a. I think you might be able to get a first rounder from him. I don't know from what
22.
draft. It might not be this draft. It might be some dude who's in grade 8 or something like that kind of a thing. Where like by the time the pick conveys, who knows, right? I think at that point it's a whole different discussion, and I don't right now this draft that's coming up to kind of move it forward. This draft coming up is a draft that is the Raptors have expressed that they are really, really keying in on this draft and the next one.
Mhm.
as are the other teams in the league. The other thing that we know about this upcoming draft and also this year is about evaluation. Jakob Peoltl has challenges fitting on a lot of other teams. Not that he wouldn't be okay, but it's like, what kind of role is he
Yeah.
playing in?
Yeah.
And he is someone that ideally, if you are going to play him, it's hard to play him in the playoffs when he struggles with pick and roll defense. And we've
No.
seen he's not a traditional rim protector.
No.
And free throws wise, it's improved from 55% to 64 or 61 or whatever the heck you said it was, which is not sufficient enough. And most teams, if you have a LaMelo Ball, you're not going to be spamming 30 pick and rolls with LaMelo Ball and Jakob Peoltl and freezing Brandon Miller out of your offense. You're not going to freeze Anthony Davis out of your, like Anthony Davis was like he's a perennial all NBA player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like at one point was talked about as like top 5 in the league kind of a thing.
My
So,
one is telling
yeah.
me that. Okay, so now that
Sorry.
we've kind of gone through these crazy trades,
Mm.
I want to hear from you. What would you think is a realistic trade? I know you said you don't think they're going to make many trades, and I kind of agree with you. I think maybe a Boucher might move, maybe. But what would you think is a realistic trade partner for the Raptors, and a realistic trade for the Raptors, coming to not the end of the season. I'm talking about trade deadline after December 15th. What would be a team? And maybe we just go through it real quickly, just to
I,
hear your thought
I
process.
I think instead of me trying to like think of like who is the best trade partner, it's just I'll tell you the people that I would be looking to trade.
Mhm.
The obviously the Bruce Brown is like it is what it is. If
Yeah.
you're able to find it, great.
Mhm.
But like if Jakob Pertl, if someone is willing to overpay for it, great. I don't see it, but if it happens, you don't say no.
Yeah.
I think realistically, the guys that are going to be easiest to move are going to be guys like Davion Mitchell,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Um, or I'll throw you a little morsel to think on. Ochai,
Oh,
right?
and that's the one player I've been so hard on. Thought he was out of this league, and then he improved, and I recognized.
But there you go. You just said it. You thought he was out of the league. Now he's really balling out. He has 1 year left on his deal. He would have his RFA rights, right? Like a playoff team could use him, but he's 6'4", right? He has his limitations size wise. So like long term, do you see him fitting that in on a team 3 years down the road? I know people like to talk about, oh, his story is this and that. If you're a GM, yes, that factors in. Yes, relationships are important, but at
Yeah.
some level, you're also a GM. And if that's the thing that got you into trouble, getting too close to players and not being able to make the deals, these are the type of deals that are tough to make that you need to be able to make. And that's what you need to do to have the big boy, seat, essentially.
What about any of our rookies? Has any other rookies done enough to even get trade interest? Even though I don't want to trade them.
I would not be trading Jacoby. He has not even played, and also like I don't know who's trading for like a rookie. And usually you're not trading a rookie unless it's a major deal. So just in general, you're not seeing a lot of teams trade rookies unless it's before the season. So I'll just leave it at that. And then like some of the other guys like Chomchi and like the anyone who's on a two-way, it's like way you don't see two ways getting traded because of it's just weird.
Mhm.
Um, and then like Mobo is you have challenges, right? And like right now you have to evaluate what you have in these players, and it may not be the most fun season from a trade conversation standpoint, but sometimes like this is my challenge to all Raptors fans is become basketball fans. Actually watch the team, try to enjoy it. I know people say that I'm hard on the team. I actually watch every game.
Yeah.
I actually am not trying to trade every player all the time. I don't necessarily think we're really good,
Mhm.
but like there's a time and place and to trade, and right now may not be that time. So yeah.
Before we leave, before I let
Mm.
you, I want to get a little spicy. Okay. A little
Are you
spicy.
trading for Pascal again?
No, no. Okay, I'm looking at the rookies that are coming in. I'm just looking at top four.
Hmm.
I noticed that they play two of the positions that BBQ play. What would you be willing to move either an IQ or RJ? And the reason why I say RJ is he's having a really great year. Would someone take a chance on capitalizing on RJ's career year to push them over the hump? And is there a team out there that would do that? And is it even would you even want to capitalize on that, or would you want to stay the course with these two players? I don't want to say we're trading them, or I'm not advocating for that. I'm telling you right now,
Hmm.
I'm not advocating for those two to be traded at all. But no one should be safe on a team that is last in the East.
Okay, so
Okay.
is the question is would I do it, or is the question is what is the
Not
possibility
about if you would do it. Is there a possibility, or is there
for this
uh,
year?
yes for this year trade deadline?
Like between now and the draft.
Trade deadline. We're not going to go into the
Oh, okay. So even shorter. No, IQ is not going anywhere because we literally just paid him money. He cannot be. Sorry,
the
one
December
second.
15th. Yeah. Sorry.
He can't be traded till December. He hasn't played much, and he has a big contract.
So you,
So
his
I don't
value
know
up there on the
if
market isn't that high then.
correct.
Mhm. But
Um,
there's RJ.
RJ, it's a possibility, but again, coming up with that amount of money for a guy that like where here's a good question. I should flip it back to you. Who do you if you're a team, you because let's assume it's are you assuming that a contender would want RJ or are you assuming a non-contender would want RJ?
I was thinking more of someone that's a team that's trying to go to the playoffs. Then they
A
see,
team trying to go to the playoffs.
yeah.
Okay.
So like
So
say for instance like a Charlotte.
why would Charlotte again want to take the ball out of LaMelo Ball's hands and Brandon Miller's hands when Brandon Miller like you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say like I was just thinking of a team that needs to push themselves over
no,
the.
no, that's the perfect team. But
Okay,
that is what I'm saying. Like, let's think it through. You trade. Forget about don't even worry about like figuring out the salary.
why would
Let's just
why would Charlotte take the ball out of Golden
right
hands and
because
Bridges as well, right?
yes, RJ's been a better cutter and whatnot, but like ultimately his best value is when he has the ball in his hands.
Mhm.
Right? He's a high volume, high scoring guard. I guess slash wing, but more of a guard. And he's really he's not a three-level scorer on a consistent basis,
Mhm.
and sometimes he can be inefficient and streaky.
Yeah,
Why am I taking the ball out of LaMelo Ball's hands
to play
or Brandon Miller's hands
or even Bridges. Yeah.
or Miles Bridges too? Sure,
Mhm.
but why are you taking the ball out of any of those three guys' hands to do that? And also in that system, where is he playing? It'd have to be off the bench. No,
Well, someone actually said that RJ's skill sets actually are best suited off the bench because that's what he is. Like the things you just mentioned, being
mm-hmm.
a six man, he's actually that type of player.
He could, but it's a tough sell for someone who's 24
And 25 million.
and whose contract is coming up the year after when he
Exactly.
has a player option.
Yeah.
It's a really tough sell, and you have to basically be a team that's going for it. It's
Mhm.
an easier sell if you're going for a championship. It's a tougher sell if you're just trying to make the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
Hopeful. Thank you so much. As long
Enjoy basketball. Put away the trade machine.
as long I want it to be banned, man. I do not like the trade machine. It is I think people take for granted these players and forget that they're humans, and forget the issues that could arise. I was really sad when we lost Carlson. I know Hopeful and Beyond really laughing at me about that, but like,
Well, let's be fair. Number one, you kept saying it was for Bruno Fernando. It was not. It was for Battle. And I'm glad Samson corrected you on that because I've been telling you for the longest time it was for Battle. And
oh my
Battle is a
God,
better player.
I would rather battle, but still, man, like, oh man, I was just so bad. I was trying to even sneak it in one of these trades and get him back, but you can't do it. But um, but we forget the actual human side of things. Like for instance, I tweeted and just said I love Carlson and hope he does really well. And his dad actually liked my tweet, right? And then I just looked at his dad's profile and you see all of his sons and how proud he is. And you got to, and it just kind of reminded me like, this is not a forgiving, it's not a forgiving sport. There's a lot of things that happen with these guys. We talk names, we love 2K, we do this fantasy sports, but at the end of the day, these people are human, and we have to kind of be a little bit more, have a little bit more empathy when it comes to saying things online and telling people they're trash or, oh, I need to trade this guy for this guy because he can't play this. And I think we need to, as you know, as a society and as fans, need to really take a step back and just think about these people as human beings. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that, but yeah, that's all.
I mean, I'm not the one that's saying get this guy out of here on Twitter, and I suggest people don't. So yeah, I mean that's just it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just in terms of the possibilities. There's not many possibilities. Look for the smaller moves. Bobby also said it. Masai also said it, is that they have to hit the singles, not the home runs. So look for the next, and they said that they need to do that for the next 5 to 10 moves. So look for hitting singles, not home runs, and you might actually find an interesting trade or two.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone subscribe to Basketball Rewind. You can hear Hopeful Beyond and Coach Roach, and subscribe to my podcast if you want to hear a little.
Absolutely. Like, comment, and subscribe to your platform.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure you'll have your links for your own self in the description.
Start putting that in
So,
there.
yeah.
I'm not doing all that. Anyways, thank you guys and have a great